which is because they push out the updates online, so this time they push out early to finish this video. As I was trying to loop. It's still not working, so it's
Okay, Julia, hi. Well, that's a good sign. Good. People can join.
People can join.
we have a quorum. 6, yeah.
I'm gonna hit record.
Recording in progress.
If you see, happen to see another person in the waiting room, let me know. Okay. So we're just missing Krista. I think we should do roll call, and we are in a unique position this evening because Seth, as you know, is no longer with the commission and he was the chairperson, and Ned Dorf is excused and he is the vice chair. So the first order of business right after roll call will be electing a temporary vice chair in order to run the meeting. Okay? So roll call, Corey Mem.
Present.
Amy Cox.
Here.
Mark Walter.
Present.
Julia Nordyke.
Present.
Jenny Brinker.
Here.
Joey Presley.
Here.
Alder Joey Presley, rather.
Thank you.
And Daniela Beal.
Present.
Okay. And I think Krista will be here, so, and Ned Dorf is excused.
Is the meeting recording?
It is recording.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it is recording. There's Krista!
That's Krista.
I left Aldo 5 minutes ago.
Okay. So, first order of business is electing a temporary vice chairperson. Do we have any volunteers?
I will volunteer if nobody else wants to.
Okay. Let me just get into the part where I should be right now on the agenda. So the motion would be to elect Alder Joey Presley as a temporary vice chairperson authorized to run the meeting of August 21st, 2024.
Why would it be a vice chairperson?
Vice chair.
No, but why vice chair and why not chairperson at this point? Just temporary anyway.
That's just the order of business that other committees have held when they're without a chair or a vice chair. This would be just a temporary.
Right, that's why it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know exactly the reason why it's a temporary vice chair versus a temporary chair, but.
It's listed as temporary chairperson.
I see that. I see that. That was my mistake.
Okay.
Do you need a motion?
We do. We
I'll
do.
move-
I'm not
I'll
allowed
move
to
it.
make a motion.
I'll
I'll only
move that.
suggest the wording of a motion.
I move according to your wording as suggested.
And I'll second.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor to elect Alder Presley as a temporary chairperson to run tonight's meeting. And we have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So I'll turn it over to you, Alder Presley.
All right.
Approval of the agenda is the first.
All right. Okay. First item: approval of the agenda. Approval of the Sustainability Commission meeting agenda for August 21st, 2024. Motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve the
Okay.
agenda.
Motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, and seconded. All right. On to the
That
next.
was Jenny, I'm kind of a slow person
Oh,
here
sure.
sometimes.
That was
Jenny B. and,
Mark Walter.
okay.
All right. Then approval of the minutes. Approval of the minutes from
Wait,
July.
do we have to vote on that?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstaining? Passes unanimously. Then approval of the minutes. Approval of the minutes from July 17th, 2024. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of July 17th, 2024.
All right. Mark Walter makes that, or what do I call you? Commissioner. Commissioner Walter
Call me all sorts of things.
makes that motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Seconded by, what is your last name?
Corey.
Great.
Oh,
Corey
from
Mim.
Mim. Okay, Commissioner Mim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. On to regular business. First discussion and possible action, creating youth engagement working group. What do we have on that?
There was a little bit in the item report in the agenda, and I believe Krista was going to speak to this.
Yeah, I can. So a student going into Preble High School reached out to me about some ideas she had for sustainability in the area. She was a student at Red Smith, where they had an environmental club that she helped found. Going into Preble, apparently there's environmental clubs at a few different schools around the district. And so in talking, we kind of had an idea that to get feedback from them, to kind of give those groups an avenue to share their ideas with the Sustainability Commission, that we could create a youth engagement working group on our end. On their end, they're going to coordinate, if approved, they would coordinate like a youth advisory council from the environmental clubs at different schools around the district. Ned put them in contact with some people who might be able to help, and I think they would kind of coordinate that end. The youth engagement working group would meet quarterly with that group of students and hear their ideas and bring them to the commission as appropriate.
So as I understand it, the schools have a youth advisory committee, or they would
No.
form a youth advisory committee?
Different
And then-
schools have different environmental clubs or
Okay.
sustainability clubs, things like that. To my knowledge, there's not a district-wide cohesive group.
Okay. And then, then the commission would form a youth engagement working group.
Yeah, that would be
And
the
then
connection point.
It's, yeah, at some point, there's going to be some interaction between the youth advisory committee, who may be the same thing as the youth engagement working group or something.
Yeah, so the youth
Some group.
advisory committee would be like their end of things, the students and their student advisors. Our commitment as the Sustainability Commission, youth engagement working group, would be to meet with that group quarterly.
At a meeting or separately?
Kind of
or-
like the other working groups, we'll
Okay.
have like outside of regular commission business, like we'll have, Jenny and I met this week for the energy group, right? So we would meet on some frequency to hear input from these kids. So we're not taking on responsibility for forming that youth advisory piece. That would be up to the students. Our commitment would be to meet with them quarterly.
Have you had interest from our commission members to form the working group already?
Ned said he would participate. I would participate. Think we can have one more? Is that true, or is two the max?
No, you can have 3, you just can't have a quorum.
Right. So a max of 3.
Right, and I know they've reached out to other staff, to Maria Otto, I put them in touch
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Maria
Mhm.
Otto. And so, you know, there could be other city staff involvement
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
you know, sort of loosely form a working group where you don't necessarily have to have 3 commission members, but I just think
Right.
they were looking to do a specific project in Preble Park.
Yeah.
So that's why they wanted to be in touch with Maria.
And they actually approached Mayor Genrich Mayor Genrick about an idea for like reducing plastic waste in the city of Green Bay. That's how I got in touch with the student. So the student and her advisor have a lot of ideas.
If that is a topic they want to explore, then that would.
And that's kind of where we had the idea to do a youth engagement working group where we could bring ideas to the appropriate people and kind of help guide their efforts.
Because that's right up my alley.
Yeah.
And that's what I work on. So.
Yeah. And she was specifically looking at a recognition program or potential ban on plastic bags. We talked about maybe a recognition program, and so we actually put her in touch with Alex to maybe incorporate that particular idea into the work he's doing that I think we'll hear about later.
Yeah, unfortunately, plastic bag bans are banned at the state level, so you can't enact them.
Well, and I think she heard that from the mayor, and so we talked about some other ideas.
If they want to work on legislative changes to that law, that's the ban on banned law,
yeah.
Love it. I can't lobby for that because I'm a county employee.
Yeah, we're not proposing any regulation changes, just an avenue for students' voices to be heard if they have ideas about sustainability.
I believe the city of De Pere, I don't know if they're still doing it, but at one point they had a youth member or maybe more participating on their parks committee. I don't know technically what that committee's called, but I'm just curious exactly how that works. If that would be something, would it make sense to maybe out of that work group have a representative sit in on some of the meetings, maybe all of them, I don't know. But maybe it could just be another way to perhaps further their desire to participate.
Yeah.
It's not all that different. I think the Green Bay Public School District still has a youth representative that is like the student member of the school board, something along those lines.
Yeah, so just something we could.
But there's a broader group. There's representatives from several of the area high schools, I believe, and then there's one that's sort of a someone that represents a lot of the students at their board meetings. So I think that would be a different action to actually incorporate a youth member into our group. But for a working group, it would be a change to, if we wanted to add another work group, then we would amend the work plan to reflect another work group.
Okay.
What about?
And it does sound like there's minimal, it's not a heavy lift as far as the involvement.
Is that the recommended course of action versus inviting a student to participate on the commission? That seems more involved. I
think so.
To go that route with her.
I think I could see it maybe evolving to that at some point, but I like the idea of I'm not a voting member, people, so if people on the screen, you speak up too, but I like the idea of having a youth engagement work group.
Yeah, I suspect, like I said to Joe just now, to change the structure of this commission by adding anybody would take council action. And this commission was set up by ordinance in the first place, so it's a somewhat involved process. You'd have to change the ordinance, go through whatever that involves. And
I thought a working group might be a
working
lower
group.
lift.
Do we need to make a motion to that effect to amend the work plan to add a youth engagement working group?
So
Is that what we do now, or a referral to staff?
No, I don't think it would be necessarily refer to staff. I think the commission could add another work group if you all feel that it's something that there's enough of you to go around to put the work into what that's going to entail, which we don't entirely know, but it sounds like at least a quarterly meeting would be involved. It would be involved. And whatever coordination goes along with that, I would help with some of that coordination. but as far as like bringing their ideas or, back to the Sustainability Commission, or even if the Sustainability Commission is a vehicle for getting, putting in our packet what the students are doing in their environmental clubs. That's just another way of furthering their, what they're trying to advance too. So, I'm definitely on board with helping with that as well. So I think the motion would be to add a youth engagement working group and amend the work plan to reflect.
What goes into amending the work plan?
We add it and you vote on it.
Because Seth kind of kept that.
Yeah,
right?
I
The
have
chair
that.
keeps
Yeah, I
it.
have all of that.
Okay,
So
but you have it.
I would say we could table it until we have an elected chair and vice chair, depending on if there's any movement that happens with our current vice chair, to table it until we have both of those positions filled. And then if there's other ideas or thoughts that the commission has in that interim, to bring it to when it's voted on to amend the work plan. If there's other thoughts that you have on adding a work group.
I guess I would just say, I don't know if it needs to be tabled, if there's two already willing members of the committee to meet with the student work group. Because that's really what the commitment is. So I don't know if I think it would need to be tabled. It sounds like there's members that are willing to commit to it already.
And I would be willing to update the work plan, I just don't know if that's allowed. That was really my question.
Okay.
I think it would just be we take action tonight, presumably, to make that recommendation to change the work plan, put forth some type of language that would fit into the work plan, and then we vote on it as a commission at a future meeting, just to make it formal.
So the recommendation would be to amend the work plan. That would be the motion.
To add a youth engagement working group to it.
I move to amend the work plan to add a youth engagement working group.
Okay, we have a...
Let me type this up. Approve amending the work plan to create a youth engagement work group. I would say amending the 2024/25 work plan, so it's a little more specific.
Great.
Okay.
Can you repeat the language of that?
Sure. I never type while I'm on camera. All right, the motion is to amend the 2024-25 work plan to create a youth engagement work group.
All right, so we have that motion by Krista. Do we have a second?
Second.
Who said that?
Daniela.
Okay.
All right, seconded by Daniela. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstaining? All right, that moves forward. Excellent. And everything that we approve here goes on to the full council, which is meeting on the 27th of this month, next Tuesday. All right, where are we now? Presentations. So we have a presentation, Wisconsin Sustainable Business Council overview by Krista Kananen. Is that how you pronounce your last name? Kananen, okay.
A lot of
Kananen.
A's and N's.
Program manager for WSBC.
Yes.
To proceed.
Thank you. Melissa, do you have my presentation?
I do.
I can give you a minute, it's okay.
Now, I am going to try to share it with the folks that are online too, and that's where I'm, or you could always pull it up, it's in your packet. But I don't know, let me see if I have to share my screen here. No.
I think it's the little blue up
Oh.
arrow.
Okay, so where did that presentation just go? Is everyone able?
Yeah.
Great, thank you, Amy. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you all. So I, in my day job, work for Wisconsin Sustainable Business Council. So we're a nonprofit whose mission is accelerating the integration of sustainable principles and practices through the power of business. So essentially, kind of our motto is that we believe that good business is sustainable and sustainability is good business. So we support companies, primarily companies, so we really focus on all sizes, all sectors, but companies specifically, in integrating sustainability into how they do business. So you can see on the screen, educate, measure, improve, and connect. Those are some of the core ways that we do that. But it's really a community of sustainable businesses and sustainability professionals. And our goal is really to be a catalyst for change, to inspire companies and individuals to embrace sustainability, and framing that as something that's good for business and can offer a strategic competitive advantage. So if you'll go to the next slide, Melissa. Thank you. So one of our kind of core ways that we engage with the business community is through membership. So our members have access to a whole lot of resources, educational material. We do monthly webinars and workshops. We have a member platform with a ton of resources for sustainability professionals. Working groups, so for example, right now we have a greenhouse gas working group where companies can come and share best practices, ask each other questions, kind of collaborate on their greenhouse gas emissions improvement initiatives. And then we have our annual conference, which I'll share about a little bit at the end, but it's really kind of a premier event for businesses in the state kind of pursuing sustainability. Our Green Masters program is our flagship program that we recently updated as really not only a recognition program, but a tool to help companies navigate sustainability and identify what matters most to their organization, and then implement systematic management and best practices to improve their performance in those. Again, really a big part of what we offer is a community for sustainability professionals to share their struggles, share their best practices, and learn from one another. And we also showcase and celebrate companies who participate with us. They have access to our WSBC logo. They can use that in their marketing material. We also highlight different companies who are doing cool things around the state, highlight our members. And then we have our Sustainable Business Awards, where we celebrate members' achievements in sustainability. You can go to the next slide. So Wisconsin Sustainable Business Council started in 2007 at the University of Madison. The kind of foundation was the Green Masters program. It was actually a graduate class that developed and administered the program. As that kind of, the Green Masters program and the conference were kind of the two big, like what is WSBC? It was kind of those two things. Those have grown, so we're in our 17th year right now. We've had a conference every year. We've run the Green Masters program every year, and through that have engaged with hundreds of businesses around the state. In 2019, the professor who started WSBC retired, and the council was acquired by WMEP, which is Wisconsin Manufacturing Extension Partnership. So they're a state and federally funded consultancy to support small to mid-sized manufacturing in the state of Wisconsin. So since 2019, we've really built a lot of resources for manufacturing. And it's been kind of cool because it's actually been around the same time that we've seen a big shift in manufacturing toward sustainable practices, largely driven through customer requirements. So companies who are supplying larger businesses are getting a lot of pressure from those companies to measure and improve their sustainable performance. And so through our partnership with WMEP, WSBC has really kind of become a leader in like helping manufacturers through sustainability across the US. So we've had many conversations and engagements with other sustainability groups in other states and other cities. We're like, how are you getting this many manufacturers to care about sustainability? So it's kind of become our strong suit. Something that's kind of exciting is that we're actually, for the first time in our history, in January 1st, 2025, going to become an independent organization. Oh. So we've actually outgrown our collaboration with WMEP, and to allow us to kind of expand beyond manufacturing. We always have, but it's kind of become harder for each of us to pursue our missions. So we're going to be an independent organization in January. So super exciting, but this is the timeline. We're not new. It's been around a long time. We just launched membership in 2021. We kind of reinvigorated the Green Masters program in 2023, and then 2025, independent organization. So exciting things going on. All right, Melissa, next slide, thanks. So there's a lot of different definitions of sustainability. When we talk to businesses about sustainability and what it is, we define it as a business growth strategy that creates long-term stakeholder value. So kind of breaking from the traditional perspective of just shareholder value, to recognize that there are stakeholders that include their customers, their employees, their communities, the environment, that there are a lot of stakeholders that they can create value for. And the way that they can do that effectively is through understanding and managing their risks and their opportunities related to social and environmental impacts. So we really start by helping them understand what their impacts are and then equipping them to manage those effectively. Next slide. So one of the interesting things that we've seen as we've engaged with a lot of businesses around sustainability is that, there's a lot of upside for businesses to engage with sustainability. And there's also a lot of pressure on businesses to do something when it comes to sustainability. And so we've seen that companies kind of responding to this pressure have turned to what we call random acts of environmentalism, where they just kind of are like, so many times they'll have companies come to us who have no sustainability presence, and they'll say, we're getting all this pressure from this customer to provide our greenhouse gas emissions. Do we just need to install solar panels? And it's like, well, maybe that could be the right path for you, but let's start by measuring your energy use. Then let's start by looking for ways that you can reduce your energy use and maximize efficiency. And then let's explore, alternative or clean energies. So kind of with that, what we found is that when companies can be strategic in their approach to sustainability, and that includes both knowing what to focus on, but also integrating the things that they focus on into the core of their business. So rather than sustainability being this other thing that they do, that it's a part of everything that they do. So we really guide companies to a strategic approach, an integrated approach, and one that's aligned with who they are as a company, what their stakeholders care about, and how they do business. And when we've seen that when those three things come together, sustainability can have a really significant impact on their business and also that business on their stakeholders. So it's really been an effective way to engage. Next, please. So there's a lot of reasons that businesses value sustainability. There's a lot of research out there, and not surprisingly, that sustainability can reduce risk and operating costs, right? Think about waste disposal costs, energy costs. It's not uncommon for companies to see 40% savings in energy just by intentionally managing it, right? We've seen companies who start measuring their energy use and realize they've been receiving the wrong bills, or measuring their water use and realizing they've had a leak for the past, 2 years or something. It really is true that you can't manage what you don't measure. And once you start intentionally measuring and managing things, companies can really see a lot of improvements to their bottom line. Also, with kind of shifting expectations around what employees are looking for in an employer, having a sustainability presence can significantly improve an organization's recruitment efforts, can enhance their visibility and reputation. One of the great opportunities in sustainability, particularly when we start talking about product level sustainability, is that it really fosters a culture of innovation, right? When companies start thinking about things differently and kind of break outside of the box of, well, we've always done it this way, and start thinking like, okay, we need to reduce the greenhouse gas impact of this product. How can we do that? We start seeing a lot of innovation being fostered in companies in how they do business. And then through that process of valuing your stakeholders as key parts of your business, those relationships are significantly enhanced, and particularly with customers. When we work with companies whose customers are pressuring them to improve sustainability, it's because those companies are facing pressure too, right? And so when an organization can meet that need, that really improves the relationship. All right, next slide, please. Despite all of the benefits to sustainability, a lot of companies really struggle, particularly companies who are smaller, often having, competing priorities. We hear that so often. We also hear from a lot of businesses that they just don't know what we mean when we're talking about sustainability. Or they think, oh, that's just fluff, it's not real. And so we're striking that balance of understanding that it's truly a technical discipline, but it's also accessible, right? It's also part of just good business. It's efficiency. It's valuing your employees, valuing your customers, right? So we hear just a lot that they just don't know how to navigate sustainability. If they do, they don't necessarily know how to identify what's important, let alone how to integrate it into how they do business. And a big part of that is that companies struggle either, depending on who brings the initiative, right? If it's a top-down initiative, then companies struggle to get employee buy-in. But if it's a bottom-up initiative, sometimes companies struggle to get top-level leadership buy-in. So kind of bringing all of those together so that we're kind of communicating the benefits in a way that makes sense to all groups across the board is something that we kind of help our participants navigate. We also hear a ton that companies just think that it's too expensive. And actually, it can be, right? Because it is a technical discipline for companies to have access to the expertise to be able to do some of the things they're being asked to do. It can be a challenge, and particularly for if they have employees who could do it, for them to navigate all of the nuances. It's a challenge. So if you'll go to the next slide, please. So, companies come to this space a lot of different ways, right? Some of them are coming because of compliance. Usually larger companies are facing regulatory compliance if they're coming to sustainability now. Smaller companies are facing customer requirements or customer pressure. That's actually been a huge driver for sustainability over the last 2 years. Our members as Wisconsin Sustainable Business Council, and the reason people join, has really shifted. Up until the last couple of years, it's been values driven, right? Companies value sustainability and they want to, they appreciate the branding, the like-minded community. More and more in the last year or two, we're seeing companies who have to come to sustainability because they're getting pressure to do so and they don't know where else to turn. So that's been a significant shift. And companies that may actually value the tenets of sustainability but don't call it sustainability, or companies who are like, I want nothing to do with that, are coming to sustainability and looking to measure and manage their impact. So it's a really exciting time in the business world when it comes to sustainability right now. Sometimes it's risk, right? A lot of financial institutions come to sustainability with a very strong risk-based perspective. So that could be banks, that could be insurers. We work with a lot of companies in that realm. Market potential, a lot of consumer-facing brands see the shifting consumer appetite toward more sustainable options, and so are coming to sustainability for that. And others come because they have investors who are pressuring them to do so. So we see that not only in large-scale investors, but in private equity. A lot of times private equity companies, there might be a private equity firm that owns 5 to 15 companies, but might particularly value sustainability or see an organization that they acquire as having a lot of potential because of sustainability. So we're seeing companies come from a lot of different angles. But if you go to the next slide, across the board, what we've seen is that this kind of roadmap is the right one regardless of how companies are coming to it. So first step, assessing your material topic. So understanding what's actually important to your business and stakeholders. And then from there, refining your priorities. So companies might identify that they have 10 or 15 topics in the world of sustainability that are material or important, but they can't boil the ocean, right? And so we recommend that companies just getting started start with just 3 to 5 topics, right? Maybe that's greenhouse gas, employee safety, and customer welfare, right? Product quality and safety. So helping companies understand kind of the big picture of what's important and then knowing what to focus on now. And then starting to measure those things, right? Establishing metrics and baseline performance, having a goal for how they want to improve, putting together a plan for how to achieve those improvements, and then particularly important, embedding that into how they do business. Again, we don't want it to be random acts of sustainability that are a standalone thing that no one really cares about in the organization. So the more people they can get involved in achieving their improvement initiatives, the more successful companies are. And then they execute, and then they evaluate and adjust. So this is based on a plan, do, check, act cycle. Really resonates with manufacturers. But as you can see, it's a cycle, right? And so we start here, but then companies continue to add to the things that they're focusing on over time. And we've seen some really cool cultural changes when it comes to sustainability. So we've seen companies that, got customer pressure to start doing something in sustainability, and then they're like, okay, we're gonna meet the requirements, we're gonna do it. But then we start talking to them and we say, oh, you're already valuing employee safety, you're intentionally making safe, high quality products, you care about being a good citizen in your community. A lot of them will say like, oh, we already recycle and we barely use water and you just have to use energy. There's nothing you can do about it, right? But they care about those other things. And so we'll start to say, oh, if you get a free energy assessment from Focus on Energy, you can maybe save some money, and you're already doing great in safety, you're already doing great in product quality, you're already positively impacting your community, you're on your way to being a sustainable company. And they'll kind of be like, yeah, I guess we are, right? And then we and or their customers, right, start to reward those behaviors. So sometimes it's as small as just starting to measure something that they're already doing, or start to publicly talk about something that they're doing. And then they start to get rewarded for it, and they're like, okay, maybe I want to reduce my greenhouse gas emissions now that I'm measuring them, now that I'm getting recognition from my, customer for my greenhouse gas emissions. So this process really has helped drive sustainability forward in the business community. All right, next slide. So we offer a lot of options to meet the needs of the Wisconsin business community when it comes to sustainability. We call membership and the Green Masters program our self-serve model. So we have a bunch of resources. If companies know what they're doing, it's a great way they can just plug in and run with it. If they're stuck or aren't quite sure how to get started, we offer a sustainability assessment that helps them figure out what's important and kind of next steps just to get started. And then we can also support them through developing systematic programs to manage their sustainability impacts. Cool Choices is an online sustainability engagement game. So we've had some conversations with Melissa. It's a cool way to get people involved in not only sustainable actions at home, but at work as well. So a lot of times companies will play that, like during Earth Month or something, to drive some engagement, and we've seen some great benefits from that. And then 21st Century Pathways is something that we do that's a little bit more of a deeper dive to help companies really integrate sustainability into their strategic initiatives as an organization. All right, next slide. I'll just highlight really quickly the Green Masters program. So we have close to 100 businesses now participating across the state with the revamped program. It's a registered certification mark. It's a self-certification, but it is a registered business-wide sustainability certification that validates an organization's sustainability initiative. It's also a tool to help them define, prioritize, and measure their performance in topics that are meaningful to them and their stakeholders. We actually start with a materiality evaluation, and companies only respond to the topics that they identify as material and priorities. And then for each recognition level, they have to include a minimum number of topics in order to be recognized at that level. So we kind of strike the balance. And then participants can use the Green Masters program logo to kind of tell their story and promote their participation. So that's largely it. The next slide, if you go to that, Melissa, is my contact information and the managing director of WSBC, Jessie Servi-Ortiz. Any business of any size or sector can be a member, and I personally would love to see WSBC grow in this region. We have a really strong southeastern Wisconsin presence, just kind of by the nature of it started in Madison. Now the managing director is in Milwaukee. We've never had staff in the Green Bay area, but now we do. I've been with the organization about 2 years, so I would love to see it grow in this region and to be a resource to this commission as well. And then in the very last slide, I'll just put out there that our conference in 2024 will be November 13th at the Harley Museum and Garage in Milwaukee, and invite anyone from the council to attend. It's a really exciting event to kind of see the things that are happening in business, in sustainability across the state. Sometimes it can be disheartening to think about sustainability in this state, but this event really kind of brings a different perspective. It's really celebrated, and yeah, encourage you to attend if you can. That's it, I'm done.
Thanks, Crystal.
Yeah, I have a couple of things. I had the chance to attend the annual WSBC meeting 2 years ago when it was held at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, and Mayor Genrich and I both went, and it was a wonderful experience, and it wasn't my first time, but when I had I wasn't just starting, but probably about 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, I attended, there was an annual conference at UW Oshkosh, and it was a much smaller event, and I think Tom Eggert was still extremely involved with it at that time, but yeah, I'm a big fan of the organization, and you know, it's not typically an organization that municipalities join because it is for the business community, but it was good to go last year or 2 years ago and represent City of Green Bay, and you know, I appreciated that the conference was held in our neck of the woods, because I think it does encourage more local businesses to think about it when it's not so far away.
Yeah.
To be able to attend the meeting and to be able to learn about what they're doing, because there's organizations that have been in that part of WSBC for years and years and years, and you know, to hear their stories is very encouraging.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Those organizations that are, companies that are joining most recently because they quote unquote have to, do you think that, or can you tell us, is that driven by the world market and possibly the ESG like
In
scoring?
part, like there's some, you know, with like companies that export to Europe, you're seeing some of that, but some of the European regulations are just coming into effect. So we'll have companies reach out and be like, how's this gonna affect me? Like, what do I have to do? Because in 3 years, right, I'm gonna have to report. But we're also just seeing shifting kind of consumer expectations. So I can share some of the large, like we call them OEMs, or like larger manufacturers that assemble things that parts of it are made elsewhere. So companies like Oshkosh, John Deere, Harley, like kind of surprisingly, maybe not, you know, I'd point to some reasons, but the automotive and heavy equipment industry is one of the industries that's really advancing sustainability in manufacturing. So all of those companies I just mentioned have pretty significant supply chain expectations that are really moving sustainability forward in manufacturing. And we're seeing it across the state as so many, I mean, we have so many like metals manufacturers and, you know, suppliers in that supply chain. So that's a huge one. Food and agriculture is a big one. That's probably more related to risk, right? So with climate changes, there's significant risk to food companies who have relied on certain areas, right? Being able to like, get certain foods, or, you know, water stress impacting their ability to source materials. So we're seeing like the agricultural and food industry having a big push, even like beef processing, fast food. Fast food has a big, they're really pushing their supply chains. So we're seeing like suppliers in the fast food like supply chains really moving towards sustainability. And then consumer facing brands, so we see in like the packaging industry a lot. Consumer facing brands like L'Oreal, just an example off the top of my head, has significant and stringent supplier expectations that really encourages companies to move in that direction. So I would say yes, some of it is regulatory, not US based. Like I've seen very little impact from any US regulations moving companies toward it. Exception of one company that I can think of, and that was California's SB 152 or whatever. Other than that, Europe, yes, we see some regulatory pressure, but mostly it's consumer expectations and or true climate risk. And we see that again, like in the finance and insurance industries, climate risk is a big driver. They're just like, hey, this is costing us money. But that impacts supply chains less. That impacts lending a bit more. So we're starting to see some financial institutions who are offering better rates to companies who have like a climate risk plan, or, you know, understand their climate risks. So in that way, kind of supply chains. But yeah, great question.
I have a question. Do you see or work at all, or I guess any insight into like innovative businesses being created due to kind of sustainable issues, such as making Phragmites useful, or doing something with all the ash wood that's, you know, the ash trees that are dying, things like that?
That's a great question. The examples that you shared, no, I haven't seen that specifically. I would say some around, and less in the US. I hear more about it in like other countries, quite frankly, using waste materials. In the US, I'd say we mostly see tech-related startups geared toward measuring, managing sustainability, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and being in the waste industry, that jives with
Yeah.
what we see too. The US does not do a very good job of finding innovative ways to manage our waste.
It's too cheap to just throw it away.
It is. It's, yeah,
It's cheaper and easier.
it's much more easy to much more
Much easier.
cost effective at this point to
Yeah.
dig a hole in the ground and fill it with garbage than it is to find a way to reuse aspects of that waste.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just have an image of all these panels of windmill panels like being buried, and well, that's what the image said. Who knows what you can trust on this these days? But you know, in my mind, I'm thinking, can't you use that for like roofing material or something? Like
Probably, yes. Mm-hmm.
You're hitting on one of those waste areas that are extremely problematic, because windmills are designed not to break, and
Mhm.
so you can't even put them in the ground in landfill because they don't crush. They don't. Yeah, we don't even know what to do. So yeah, there's lots of other things that are going on in the waste industry though that are outside of the U.S. typically, but it's slowly going. Minnesota just passed what's called an extended producer responsibility packaging law that requires that manufacturers of packaging, if you're selling it in Minnesota, you have to have end-of-life options for a lot of that. So.
Which is also more common in Europe.
Yes, exactly.
But at the end of the day, honestly, companies are motivated by money, right? Why do businesses exist? Traditionally, it's to make money. So, we're reframing to stakeholder value versus just shareholder value, right? Recognizing that value is bigger than money. And, also helping connect things that are good for the world and good for their stakeholders with quantifying how that impacts them financially. But really, at the end of the day, it's supply chains facing the requirement to measure and manage things like greenhouse gas emissions that's making the difference. So we've started even kind of sharing that with the larger companies we work with, like, hey, recognize your power, because you can have a huge impact by requiring things of your supply chains, and then helping set companies up for success who are facing those very real pressures. And it's getting to the point where that's not like a nice to have, but companies are losing business if they can't demonstrate, like measure and demonstrate their sustainability. So I think that's exciting. There's definitely good news when it comes to sustainability in the business community, but we also have a long way to go. We started offering consulting as WSBC in the last year and a half because there's so many companies that kind of moved from like convincing companies that they should do it to now companies are like, okay, we're ready to do it, just help me, tell me how. And we can only do so much, right? And so the need is definitely there, and we're looking for and exploring all ways that we can meet that need more effectively and more broadly, because I don't think it's going away anytime soon.
It makes sense to outsource sometimes, yeah, especially if you're a smaller company, then try to expect one of your employees to take on this extra role.
Well, and it's tough because like larger companies just hire someone who understands sustainability, right? It's like, it's not, I would say it's not rocket science, but it is a technical field, right? And so like greenhouse gas accounting, right? There's specific ways to do it. So sometimes smaller companies would be like, well, I just want to have someone in-house do this, right? Then they don't quite get it right, and they're like, well, we're doing it. Like, here's the greenhouse gases. And you're like, thank you, very good. So it's a balance, right, between like, if they really are dedicated to doing it internally, we want to give them the resources to do that effectively. But also, like, sometimes they just need to outsource it, and we're trying to keep that accessible for the companies who really need it. So that's kind of our goal in what we do, is keeping it accessible, empowering people to do it themselves long term, and so we really focus on helping companies get started, get some of the basics, and then run with it as they grow into it a little bit.
Questions or discussion? Any online folks? All right, well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
So we'll need a motion to receive and place on file, correct?
Motion to receive and place on file.
All right, motion by Daniela. We have a second.
I'll second.
All right, seconded by, what is your last name?
Jenny Brinker.
Brinker, okay. Led by Commissioner Brinker. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Abstaining? Okay. Let's move on to informational. We have announcements from commission members, but before we have any announcements, we should all announce our name and where we come from, perhaps, because we do have a new member, Daniela, who joins us today for the first time. So I think that would probably be wise to go around and introduce ourselves a little bit. Daniela, do you want to start?
Sure. My name is Danielle Beal, she and them pronouns, and I'm the Sustainability Coordinator at UW Green Bay.
Nice.
Anything else to share?
How long have you been the sustainability coordinator at UW Green Bay?
3 years.
Very nice.
Like 3 years, almost to the day.
Congrats. Happy anniversary. Julia, do you want to go next?
Hi, Daniela. I work with Daniela sometimes on campus, and I'm the Water Quality Coastal Communities Outreach Specialist for Sea Grant, and I'm based at UW Green Bay campus. So we have collaborated on a couple projects in the past.
Amy?
Hi, Daniela. I'm Amy Cox. I am the Dean for Trades and Engineering Technologies at Northeast Wisconsin Technical College.
Courtney?
Yeah. Hi, Daniela. It's Corey Mim. I'm the park planner, which we've also worked on a project together, some kind of conceptual master planning for Ken Ewers. So welcome to the commission.
Thanks.
Nice to have you, Daniela. I'll just keep going.
I think we know the order.
Yeah, Jenny Brinker. I'm currently a consultant with GDS Associates in energy efficiency, and I had a stint working with Amy Cox at NWTC for the last 9 years, teaching energy management too, and used to work with Melissa a little bit at WPPI Utility. But great to have you.
Wonderful. Thanks.
It's like a family affair. You kind of got a long introduction. Krista Kanan, Wisconsin Sustainable Business Council, and we have met before. Nice to see you and welcome.
Thanks.
Hi, Daniela. Mark Walter, Brown County Resource Recovery, Port of Green Bay. Yeah, obviously we've met several times again. This is old home week for you, for everybody here, right? Pretty much. Nice to see you again.
I'm Joey Presley. I know you as well. Maybe we didn't need introductions. And I'm the Alder for District 6 and on this commission. And I also work at UW Green Bay. So,
And I'm the staff person assigned to the Sustainability Commission. I'm Melissa Schmitz. We've also met. I did not go to UW Green Bay. I feel like there's a very strong UWGB presence now on the commission. But I've been with the city for, it'll be 4 years as a resiliency coordinator. In October, I'll have my 4-year anniversary. So it's good to have you.
Congrats, and thanks for having me.
okay. Do we have any announcements?
Just, I guess I'll, like I say, my department is two-sided. Resource recovery deals with recycling, solid waste management, hazardous waste management, and there are definitely things happening on that side of the world. Probably the big thing is that, and I think I've talked about this before with our battery outreach. We're expanding that to take batteries from anybody, 5 days a week at our facility. There's also now a partnership with, not us particularly, but Batteries Plus now has a program to collect batteries from the public for free. This is especially important in my industry. Within this year, we've already had 3 fires at a couple of our facilities, one just a couple weeks ago, one about a month before that. They make great camera feed. I can show you these images of things of batteries basically flaring up on the floor as a truck runs over them or something like that. But those are very important projects, and the same grant that Batteries Plus got is now being forwarded by Wisconsin DNR as a statewide initiative. We're looking at doing that as well, so that there will be more battery collections statewide at some point in the future, which is going to be really helpful for things. On the other side, just kind of a fun thing, if you haven't watched any of the Woolly Green Grazers Facebook posts, they are the company that is grazing Renard Island for us, have been all summer. And Roxy Emanson, who's the shepherdess, for the lack of a better term, I guess, has now about 160 animals out on the island. Their goal originally, they started in May, was to graze the island once within 30 days. We are now in August. They haven't grazed it once all the way across yet. And they now have 100 sheep and 60 goats out there, combining with another farm to get them out there. And they probably will be, they're for sure going to be out there through October, possibly winter over, some of the sheep out there all year, if they have enough forage. But it's a fun thing, and we're trying to arrange with the Area of Concern Leadership Council in October. We're actually going to see about having a meet and greet, for lack of a better term, on the island.
With the animals? With the animals,
yeah, the sheep, the goats. The goats, if you go onto the Woolly Green Grazers Facebook page, you'll see that about a week ago, the goats are a newer addition. Sheep don't like rocks, so they've stayed on the island, no problem. The goats don't care, and a group of, I couldn't even tell you, 20 to 30 goats decided to take a walk down the causeway to Bay Beach. You may have heard about this. No, the Bay Beach staff helped her get them back on the island. She's got some great video of the goats following her back out onto the island. So it's just a lot of fun. And the woman and her husband who have this operation are just so effusive. They're such great outreach people for doing this kind of work. So I'm happy to have them working, and we'll be working with them this year and next year for sure. But yeah, that's a fun thing, because it's a great way of vegetative management. And if anybody knows if lamb's quarters is a weed, she's trying to get a confirmed identification of one of the weeds that covers about 10 acres of the island, because if it's lamb's quarters, then the sheep may not be able to graze it. It would be toxic, and if it's not, then we're good to go. But we've been trying to find someone who can help. Extension couldn't identify it positively, so at least the people who are out there.
I was like, Google search is mine, like I Google image search.
Lamb's quarters, not lamb's ears, but lamb's quarters?
Lamb's quarters.
Is that fuzzy leaf?
No, it's actually, it turns out it's a very edible plant for people that you can, it was used for people to eat in place of spinach. I mean, it had.
Danielle, did you say you eat it?
Yeah, from my yard.
Yeah.
Can you positively identify
I want to see it. I want to know what this looks like. It might be in my yard.
It's a very common weed from what I've read and looked at. But the problem is that I'm sure that there are different variations of it, or different.
Almost looks like old weeds, but like not.
Yeah, it's a weed. It grows like crazy. You can't keep it back.
You can see it.
Oh, that is.
Right, but I have a concern about these sheep. That is, was this included in our baseline greenhouse gas emissions citywide?
Well, interestingly enough, technically Renard Island is not in the city.
Score.
It's never been annexed. It's in fact, up until this week, it wasn't even showing up on the parcel map. If you had looked for the parcel that Renard Island sits on, it wasn't in existence
So
until.
it's unclaimed land?
No,
it's to the county.
It's a lake bed grant from the state to the county.
Oh, okay.
So the county owns it. The
I
county
want
owns
to
it.
annex it, because then it would be part of my district, and then I would represent sheep and goats. So, which at present I don't represent. I don't think any sheep and goats, except for when they get on Bay Beach.
Well, yeah, but I think I think
that would be
their
really
permanent
funny.
address is in Appleton.
Oh,
So
darn
yeah. I just thought I thought that was it is sustainable. It's vegetative management in a sustainable manner. We're not using mowers,
Right.
mechanical mowing, to go out there and cut it down.
Right.
And it's going to manage the weeds much better, because when they eat them, they sterilize the seeds for the most part.
As
so
it goes through.
it goes through, and so we see a succession of different kinds of weeds coming through, and they love Phragmites. So we don't have a lot of Phragmites out there to begin with, but the goats love it, and that's why they're on the rocks around the edges, which is where the Phragmites are. But more to the point is, if you have an interest in getting out there to actually see this, you can contact me. We can go out there at almost any time. But I just talk to Roxy. Otherwise, we will have a coordinated visit in October at some point with a number of municipal representatives.
Awesome.
Fun stuff.
Any other announcements?
I have an announcement from staff. So as you know, we are without a chairperson, this commission. So one of you, if you are interested, if there's more than one, that's even better. We need to elect, you'll need to elect someone next meeting to be the next chairperson. Or if you are interested in being a vice chair, either one. I did speak with Vice Chair Dorf, and he would be willing, but he said that if there was someone more interested, he's fine with remaining vice chair. So please keep that in mind.
Oh, do we say now or do
If
we
you're
wait?
interested now, you can say you are interested, but if you're interested but you don't want to talk about it, we can just have a conversation about it, outside of the meeting as well. It's not. This is just an announcement at this point. But please contact me and include Vice Chair Dorf as well in these conversations. But it's not a quorum kind of thing, so we can just okay.
Off the record.
So we have, our next meeting is September 18th. So that will be the first order of regular business, September 18th. Okay.
Do we need, I forgot, do we need to vote? Julie.
I'm sorry, it's hard, sometimes it's hard to hear you, Alder. And so did you say, are you asking if there's another announcement?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I was just going to mention that I co-lead the East River Collaborative, which is about community-driven flood resilience planning. And we have some funding, and we are going to, we're hosting a Milwaukee flood resilience tour. It's going to be 2 days, and it's all taken care of by the grant, like the travel, the hotel, the meals, and everything. And we're going to go visit flood resiliency projects in the Milwaukee area and hear from community partners. It's really focused on how to engage underserved communities, and there's the 16th Street Health Center and some other really great organizations that do work down there for these projects. And that's going to be, I don't know if I said this already, October 16th through 17th. And I'm telling you this as information, but you're all going to receive an invitation, and you're more than free to join us for this this really cool tour, if that kind of thing interests you. What's kind of exciting is, I think this is, even elected officials can go. So we have the right paperwork to be able to help to allow elected officials to go into this too, as part of it. So.
And that's called the Milwaukee Flood Resilience Tour?
Yes, and you should be receiving an invitation by email in the next day or two.
October, the dates again, please?
16th through 17th. So it's, we also have the grant funds, and so the first part of the grant funds sent a cohort from our area to go to the National Adaptation Forum, and Corey and Melissa went using that, and some other people from other municipalities. So this is the same grant, but it's to really try to do knowledge exchange and learn more about flood resilience projects, green infrastructure, and working in with community engagement as a focus.
Great. Look forward to that email. Any other announcements? Okay. Do we need, for each informational, do we need a motion to receive and place on file?
No,
Okay.
generally we don't do that.
Okay, gotcha.
It's totally up to how the chair runs the meeting though, so it's 100% up to you at this point.
Okay. I don't want to.
Okay.
So next Sustainability Commission meeting is September 18th at 5:00 p.m. And then memos from Resiliency Coordinator and Clean Energy Connector memos.
Yeah, so those memos were in your packet. Were there any questions on what was included? I wasn't planning on going through the memos point by point. There was Alex, I asked Alex to put together some of the current work that he's been working on as part of his position as the Clean Energy Connector. So that's the bulk of the memos, were the Soul Smart Bronze certification, and then some of the activities since the last meeting.
Any questions?
And I mean, as far as, you know, the main things that I've been working on are really around our East River Emily Park project with our design, our engineering designs right now. They're at 60% design, and now staff is reviewing those. And we've started reaching out to potential funders. So that is my world right now.
Great updates. Thanks for the memo.
Yeah.
All right. On to adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. We have a motion by Mark. Second?
Second.
All right. Second by Krista. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right. Motion carries. We are adjourned.
All right.
So long.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Recording stopped.
Krista, when you
So
said
here's my idea.
the Sustainable Business
I'm going
Council
to
has
pizza
like
over
this
there, sorry.
really strong membership in the
No.
South